The gap has to increase a total of 6 performance scores, bumping it up with 40%.
It's performing very well.
That is huge.
This new Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset is said to cost nearly 20% more.
Surprise, surprise.
But there's one challenge.
And now I'm worried. Hello everyone, welcome to PhoneArena Show. With me today again is the 50% of the show, Vic.
Hey Rat, how's it going?
Pretty good, pretty good. And what's interesting today is we have a little bit of a different episode on our hands. A little bit more tech savvy, a little bit nerdy, if you will.
But we have a big announcement because, and that's why we're doing this tech savvy episode, we have a brand new chipset, which will be the big topic.
It's coming.
We have some other new technologies that are promising to completely transform or at least improve in a big way the smartphone experience. So we have to discuss that. Right?
And the interesting thing is that they covered like two of the major elements of a great smartphone experience. And so one is the performance, so the chipset, and then the other is the battery life.
Well, those are the
technology.
fundamentals, right?
And we've been waiting for a new battery technology for a while now.
Oh yes, definitely.
And it's not very often that we see one enter mass production. So that's a pretty exciting topic.
It's not vaporware. It's actually these technologies are actually here. They are available on phones, so that's why this is exciting.
Yep. But let's start with the raw performance.
Yeah.
It's my favorite topic. And so, everyone knows the new Snapdragon is bound to arrive very, very soon. But surprise, surprise.
We have Qualcomm threw us a curveball here.
Yeah.
Everyone was expecting this to be called the Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 after 8 Gen 3. What is the name?
The name is the Snapdragon 8 Elite.
Elite. All right.
Sounds similar to the desktop chip that they're producing, which is the X Elite.
Okay, so this must be a huge jump.
And I'm not the biggest expert on the X Elite, but correct me if I'm wrong, that's the one they're primarily using for Windows ARM PCs. Is that right?
Yeah, in many ways, the Snapdragon X Elite chip was the most anticipated chipset in laptops for years because it finally brings a modern architecture to laptops, and it is like the Windows answer to Apple's M series chipsets, which were super popular, and mostly because of the great battery efficiency, power efficiency.
But also performance.
And also, performance per watt.
Better performance paired with way better battery life.
Yeah,
that's what happened with the M series chips.
So the Snapdragon X Elite is exactly that, and as far as we've seen already quite a few laptops with it, it's performing very well. It indeed delivers the battery gains that we wanted. So Qualcomm is obviously using that successful launch and kind of wants to transplant it to mobile chips.
And by the looks of it, it seems like they'll be successful in that because what we know from the 8 Elite so far is shaping up as a pretty massive jump from the Gen 3, which was already an excellent chip.
Yeah, and we should also say that this is already official. Qualcomm announced it, unveiled all the official details, and we've already seen the official Qualcomm reference design with some benchmarks. So we have quite a few details already out. Let's discuss what's new. And
even before that, like I'm not sure if it was last week or what, but about the 8 Gen 4, when we thought it was going to be the Gen 4.
Right.
You were saying that the leaked benchmark results and so on, they are indicating a pretty huge jump in performance. And
almost unbelievable.
Almost unbelievable. And by the looks of it, it's pretty much real.
Right.
So they're moving to the new production process from the 4 nanometers. They were sticking 4 nanometers. Apple's latest chipsets were on 3 nanometers, but now the not the Gen 4, but the Gen 8, the 8th Gen It's not Gen.
No,
Gen is,
no Gen.
No generation is part of that's the past, right?
It's just Elite.
It's just the Elite. No generations. Now, so the 8 Elite is on the 3 nanometers N3E, the latest and greatest production process. So they have the benefit of that. And my guess is the following. Well, the Snapdragon, the latest couple generations, and mostly the 8 Gen 3, were so awesome, so amazing of chips that they were like kind of held back by the 4 nanometer. Even at 4 nanometer process technology, they were pretty much neck and neck. And now with the 3 nanometer process node, they're like unleashed.
Definitely, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
And Qualcomm is unleashing huge performance gains. First of all, there is a new architecture, more modern, more like high performance architecture with 2 prime cores, whereas the previous one had just 1 prime core.
Right.
And a total of 6 performance cores, so no efficiency cores on this one.
Yeah.
Pretty much beefed up, and all of this is promising around 45% single core performance improvement.
45%.
45%, which is a lot.
That's
for
a big
generational leap. 45% single core.
Yeah.
And about the same in terms of multi-core performance gains.
Yeah.
Which killer speed bump.
Right.
And the more interesting thing is that I think the Adreno was already like pretty great, but now they're bumping it up with 40%.
So the GPU is also getting 40% faster.
Yeah.
Oh, these are big gains in performance improvement, right?
On average, obviously, it's going to vary the performance improvement based on use case, scenario, what you're doing with the phone, and so on. But these should be like average increases. So yeah, that is huge. That is huge improvement.
That's big news, yeah, definitely. I should also say one other thing that is really important here about this chipset is Qualcomm used to use ARM's architecture, ARM's design, and for the first time now with this chip, they're breaking away from that and they have their own custom design. So they can do their own architecture, completely transform the chip. As you said, it now has a different design. It completely removes the level 3 L3 cache and uses more L2 cache. So these are like in-depth changes that it couldn't do before, and now it's kind of moving towards a brand new direction. The new chip cores are called Oryon, which is a much better name than the ones that ARM uses, which are something like X925 or something in that order. And this is a big change for Qualcomm. Obviously, it's their first generation CPU cores, so this design will only improve further on, but it's already a great start, judging by what you said, the performance gains.
And what we're seeing from benchmarks so far is that it pretty much like is equal to the latest Apple chipsets, right?
Right. There are some slight differences, but
slight differences
more or less,
here and there, but more or less like they're like on the same level, which is good. Like we don't want to see Qualcomm lag too much behind Apple in this.
It's especially notable because of the gains in single core performance, because Apple has been the leader in that for years, and now we see this new architecture looks a lot like what Apple has been using, with more L2 cache, more improvements in these bigger cores, and
I wonder what took them so long to make that custom chip.
Yeah, that's it's interesting to look at the history of that, but maybe that's a separate topic.
Because Apple was kicking them left and right pretty much in the last several generations. I mean, Gen 2 and Gen 3 were pretty much, very, very strong chips, but they had a decided advantage, Apple, in the performance sector, and now that is erased pretty much, especially with this new one, with the 8 Elite. So that's great, but the big question is, what products are going to get it? What phones?
Yes.
And we have data on a lot of phones coming with this new chip.
The big one, of course, we have to start with it, is the Galaxy S25. This is the one that's going to get the new chip, and the most exciting one.
Although what we don't know is if all of the S25s are going to get the 8 Elite or just the Ultra.
Or only the US models.
Or, yeah.
And then the other countries will get a different chipset. We don't know that.
A lot of unknowns, again, surrounding Samsung's upcoming flagships, which is one of the things people hate about Samsung's flagships, is that you never know. Right. Well, if you're in the US, you're a bit safer.
Yeah.
But not this year, because it's not sure if the S25 and S25 Plus are going to get 8 Elite or Dimensity.
Oh, we have a new player.
For example, yeah, or Exynos.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good point. And here maybe it's a good moment to mention the reason why this is such a big question this year is because this new Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset is said to cost nearly 20% more than the previous 8 Gen 3, which was already an expensive chipset.
Yeah.
So just to give you a ballpark, we're hearing from industry sources, in this case it's Digital Chat Station on Weibo, is a Chinese insider who has a great track record. So basically he's saying that the price of the Snapdragon 8 Elite is around $190, a 20% increase compared to the previous generation, and also compared to the MediaTek Dimensity 9400, which is the closest competitor, it's again 20% more expensive.
Yeah.
And that's the main reason why, as you said, the new Galaxies, we don't know if all of them will get the Snapdragon 8 Elite because it's such an expensive chipset, and that would mean a hike in prices, right, for the end user.
But even in previous years, when Samsung used to do this segregation, there was a noticeable gap in performance, thermals, imaging, but it wasn't maybe too huge.
Yeah.
And now I'm worried. With the Snapdragon 8 Elite, the gap has to increase compared to their latest Exynos, let's say. Not really sure about the Dimensity, but I would imagine that Qualcomm is playing a very strong game right now. They're trying to separate themselves from everyone else.
Yeah.
That's why they are charging so much for the chipset. It's as much as the Galaxy what was it, A16 that we discussed last time?
Exactly, yeah.
It's about $200, yeah, the new cheap phone on the market. So the chip, just this chip is costing as much as this phone with all the margins and so on that the manufacturer is going to charge, right, for the profit from the phone. If there's any profit in the A16, I'm not sure. But yeah, so that's Qualcomm is trying to charge that much, but they're trying to separate themselves. So if they separate themselves enough, I can't see Samsung successfully pulling off that strategy where they have Snapdragon on one market and Exynos in the other. It's going to be too much of a pronounced difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
It will be interesting to see. We'll be watching. We'll be keeping you informed about the Galaxy S25 series, that's for sure.
Yeah. And one more, just a couple more details on the Snapdragon is, of course, nobody is shocked at this point that they're also working on the NPU, so to expand the AI capabilities. Not that previous Galaxies and Pixels, the Pixel is Tensor, but doesn't matter. All of those previous generation phones already had the AI, but yeah, I guess for future looking technologies and any additional AI developments, they're making sure to have the Snapdragon ready to handle those workloads with a better NPU, 45% faster neural processing.
So that seems to be the magic number.
They like this number, 45% increase. It sounds good.
Sounds pretty good.
And okay, so, and one more thing, again, the ISP is going to be improved as with any new chipset version.
So the ISP is the image signal processing.
Image signal processing, better image signal processing hardware in the chipset equals to, not necessarily, not always, but should equal to better photo and video at the end
Nice.
for the user. So yeah, because the phone manufacturer, they're choosing what camera sensors to install on the phone, what lens, the whole stack, you know, they're working with different suppliers, but at the end, something has to compute all of that data. And
Right.
there's a lot of computation in today's modern smartphone photography, so the chipset is doing a lot of work there. And so that's the ISP there. And so they're promising better, a bunch of better things like improved HDR performance, skin tones, sky colors, and improved autofocus performance. So this is the hardware potential in there. Whether or not phone manufacturers are going to be successful in, you know, using that potential in their own cameras remains to be seen. But chances are that the new gen cameras coming in 2025 are going to be decidedly better.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great point, because you think like chipset is just about CPU, GPU performance and gaming. No, it's also about the imaging.
Yeah.
It's also about the camera. It's also about the new modem inside, connectivity. It's all connected. So
Yeah, but the modem is such a boring topic that I wanted to skip it.
it's also improved, by the way.
It's improved. Yeah.
Anyway, what other devices are getting it? So
Okay.
we talked about the Galaxy S25, the big one. What else?
So we know for a fact that the new ROG Phone 9 is coming with the
Which is
8
a
Elite.
gaming phone.
It's a gaming phone,
news.
and they're probably going to throw in some improved thermal management in there.
Definitely,
They'll probably have their kinky active cooling accessories as well. So chances are it's going to perform a little bit better than the rest in terms of heavy duty loads.
Yeah.
So of course the new OnePlus 13,
All
which
right.
we expect to be announced very soon, also going to have it
Right.
for sure. They've never compromised with the chipsets.
Yeah, and we've seen also, interestingly, this other chipset we talked about, the MediaTek Dimensity 9400. It has already made it to some places where, like, usually are reserved for Snapdragon phones. For example, the latest Vivo, which are a brand known for their camera quality, but they make full-on flagships.
Yeah.
Their new flagship series, the Vivo X200 series, are powered by the MediaTek 9400, which is also built on the same N3 process by TSMC, same 3 nanometer process. So this is, it would be interesting to see. And now we have to say it's the season for new Chinese phone launches. And this means you get a new Xiaomi 15, you get the new Vivo phones just launched. The Oppo Find X8 series are coming, I guess, tomorrow, depending on when you watch this, these days. The OnePlus 13, obviously. Other less known companies like iQOO and others each have their own little thing. They make flagships. All are coming very soon. So it would be interesting to see which chipsets they use, and how many of them use the Snapdragon 8 Elite, how many of them actually switch to this new MediaTek chipset. And yeah.
So I think it's expected right now that the new Oppo, like the Find X8,
Yeah.
it's gotta have the MediaTek Dimensity 9400. Some of the others, I believe, are set to have the Elite. I believe these are, of course, the OnePlus, the Xiaomi 15, the Honor Magic 7
Oh, I forgot
as
that
well.
one, yeah.
Yeah, so these, I think, are going to have the Snapdragon. And when we say the MediaTek Dimensity, for those who, you know, that doesn't ring much of a bell. So MediaTek have been producing chipsets for phones for more than a decade,
Oh, yeah.
I believe. Potentially even more so. But, you know, for a long time, they've been more of a mid-range chip maker. They didn't have that capacity for flagship chips. At some point, they created the Dimensity 9000, if I'm not mistaken. And I believe when they launched this, it was a big step forward for them. But of course, it takes a while for companies and other partners to, you know, to take some time and see what happens with this new chip. They won't be willing to experiment right away with it. And so it seems that now, a few generations later, with this Dimensity 9400, they're keeping the fire burning. A lot of, it's a very strong chipset from what we're seeing. And more, as you say, some places, some makers, phone makers are trying to, okay, well, let's see now. Let's throw a Dimensity in there and see what happens.
Oh, you're saving 20% on your chipset.
You're saving 20%, so
for a
that's
similar
a big deal.
performance,
One of the most expensive components in the product. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens with the Dimensity. But for now, the mainstream continues to be dominated by Qualcomm, big Q.
Yeah.
Okay, so I believe that that's more than enough said about the new Snapdragon. Very exciting stuff, very exciting performance gains. We'll see what phone manufacturers and developers also do with it to exploit all of that potential. But let's talk about the other side of the coin, which is the power supplying needed for this chipset to run.
Yeah.
And we need a lot of power. And so tell us about your favorite new
So yeah, this has been going on for a while. It's we can just call it a battery breakthrough. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's a new type of battery that we've been seeing on very few phones, and now it's appearing on more and more devices. And it's finally time to talk about it. Take it seriously. It's called silicon.
It's proven itself. It doesn't explode.
It doesn't explode.
It works. So
everything seems to be great. It's called silicon carbon or silicon anode batteries.
okay.
And basically, it's a new technology which we first saw historically nearly 2 years ago with the Honor Magic 5 Pro, out of China. Chinese phones are typically the first ones to kind of implement these new technologies, so props to them. And since then, it has been going through different generations. Right now, it's in second generation, so it's definitely more mature. So what is it? So basically, we have
That's my question. What is it?
we have to start with an explanation of how a battery works, which I won't get too technical because I'm not qualified to be too technical here. But basically, you have your typical lithium-ion battery, and you have like your cathode, which is the positive end, and you have your anode, which is the negative end. And lithium ions kind of travel between these two ends when you charge and discharge your battery. So basically, that's the way a battery works. So lithium ions flow to the negative end when you charge, and the other way when you discharge.
Yeah.
And the materials that hold these ions are what make the difference here. So typically, the most commonly used material for the anode used to be graphite. And graphite is a well-established material, nothing wrong with it, but it just doesn't have that capacity to hold as many ions as a new material, which is called silicon carbon. And silicon carbon has the advantage of being able to hold many more of these ions. But there's one challenge. When you charge and discharge, it kind of expands and then contracts, expanding, contracting. It expands 4 times and contracts 4 times for just the pure material. And this is a challenge because it can break, it can rupture. And so the challenge has been to build this material so that it is durable. And here's where a company you probably have never heard of, it's called Group 14, comes in and develops this material. And it's a US-based company based in Washington, and they have been working on the custom material, just the right ratio of silicon, carbon, and some other components, the magic sauce of this new battery, which allows it to stay stable and reliable. And basically, it provides this material to the world leader in battery manufacturing, Amperex, which is a Chinese-based company.
Okay.
So they make the batteries. If you've used the phone, chances are there is an Amperex battery inside. So it's in Samsung phones and many other devices. It holds like half of all of the market of battery manufacturing. And they then sell this material to phone makers. So it's been a bit complex, but I hope...
So they sell the material or the finished battery?
So Amperex makes the finished battery.
Right. Okay.
They take it from Group 14, and then like Honor takes it from Amperex and just puts it in the phone.
Right.
And the benefit of these new batteries is you get big improvements in the capacity at the same size. So you have the same size battery. And on the first Magic 5 Pro that introduced this technology, Honor quoted an improvement of 13% battery capacity, which is pretty good number.
Yeah, it's not trivial for battery capacity.
Yeah, and now we're seeing some even crazier numbers. So I'll give you this. You know, we have the iPhone, latest Google Pixel phone. The iPhone 16 Pro, it's a 6.3-inch phone, if we take compact phones, right?
Yeah.
Same size for the Pixel 9, Pixel 9 Pro. And on the iPhone, your battery size is around 3,600, something around that. On the Pixel, it's much bigger, 4,700 milliamp hours. So see the difference there?
Yeah. So the Pixel has the new battery?
Pixel does not have the new battery, but it still has a bigger battery inside it. And then you take the new Vivo X200 Pro Mini, which is a complicated name, but it's also a 6.3-inch phone, same size as the iPhone, same size as the Pixel, but it has a 5,700 milliamp hour battery. So the Pixel already has a quite big battery at 4,700. This one has 5,700, yet another jump. So this is a huge improvement. And this is in a big part thanks to this new technology. The Vivo X200 Pro Mini has a silicon carbon or silicon anode battery, which makes all of this possible. And it's really exciting because we're seeing these huge battery sizes that were never possible before. Another new phone that just launched in China is the mid-range Xiaomi Redmi Note 14 Pro Plus. Another mouthful. Yeah, but that device is kind of like selling in the $400 price range. It's an affordable phone by all means, but it has a massive 6,200 milliamp hour battery. Can you imagine?
Okay, so the whole thing is like the battery is not getting bigger.
Yeah.
It's the same size battery as before, but now with this new material for the anode of the battery, it can hold a much bigger charge in the same size. So it's way more efficient.
Exactly. That's the thing. And if you compare this new, like back to the Vivo phone, the 6.3-inch compact Vivo phone with a 5,700 milliamp hour battery, it has a bigger battery than the Galaxy S24 Ultra and the S25 Ultra based on rumors.
Which are big phones.
Big phones, they are supposed to have great battery life, but this compact phone, actually thanks to this new technology, actually has a bigger battery than the biggest Galaxy phone. Really impressive stuff.
Yeah.
And another benefit that I wanted to talk about here is that these batteries seem to be often used in super slim phones. I cannot tell if that is a requirement to make a super slim phone to use this new silicon carbon battery, but especially Honor. Honor is the company that made the world's slimmest foldable phone, the Honor Magic V3, under 10 millimeters, 9.2 something millimeters. And when you unfold it, it is like 4 millimeters. And inside this razor thin phone, you have a silicon carbon battery also.
Now that explains the battery life there.
And the battery life is great. It still has a bigger battery than the much thicker Galaxy Fold.
Yeah.
So this technology is responsible for a lot of these exciting new changes. And I'm gonna just throw a suggestion here. We're hearing rumors about a new iPhone 17 Slim coming next year. Could that be the first iPhone with a silicon carbon battery? Because it's supposed to be super slim, it might adopt this new technology. It's a possibility.
It might, or it might just have crappy battery life. So that's also an option, right?
It's also always an option.
But why don't they get the new battery, this silicon carbon thing, and stuff it inside, and not make it slimmer like the slim version, but stuff it inside of regular versions and make them have like super battery life?
Right, that's the big question. So we have not seen this adopted yet by Apple, by Samsung, by Google. And if they adopt it, and chances are they will in the future, because it seems to be safe, it seems to be working well. It supports faster charging, which is super important, and these companies are lacking in that. So this would be a big news if the big players, the mainstream makers, adopt this technology, but this hasn't happened yet. And maybe they're still testing it, maybe it's more expensive, but when you're paying $200 for a new chipset, maybe you can pay a bit more for a more advanced battery.
A little bit more. Yeah.
I don't think price is the problem here, but yeah, it's still a new technology. I think these companies are still kind of waiting to see if there are any issues and double checking on that.
Sure, yeah.
But I would expect this technology to appear in new phones
And maybe
in the coming years.
they're just waiting for the right time to introduce a big battery jump. Maybe in a generation of their phones where they don't have too much of a, other upgrades to talk about, and then they could be like, boom, 20% bigger battery.
And that's the problem because, these companies don't have much competition. We're talking about Chinese phone makers, but they're mostly sold in China and in Asia. And when you're talking about the US, these companies, you cannot buy these phones. When you're talking about the UK, they are not widely available. You're talking about Europe, some availability, but not a lot.
Yeah, the Honor is available.
The Honor is available, but yeah, the Honor and Xiaomi sell phones in Europe. But when you don't have this peer pressure, you are not in any rush to innovate.
Pretty much. Yeah. There's a small group of people just, with their pitchforks ready, who are following closely these things and are like, what's going on? Why are Chinese phones having all the new technology and we here stuck with our iPhones and Galaxies?
Which is a fair point.
But maybe for the, mass consumer, it's not, because they don't follow these things so closely, they don't know pretty much about the new Xiaomi or Vivo or whatever it is, so they're fine with an iPhone or a Galaxy having their old-ass battery, lithium-ion stuff, Nico, whatever. So, but and by the way, the good point here is that OnePlus 13 is probably going to have this new battery.
It's a possibility.
How do we know? We know from the rumors that it's going to have a much bigger capacity, not necessarily physically bigger size, because the phone itself is not expected to be getting any bigger, but the capacity is expected to be radically increased from what was the previous one, I believe, is the 5,400 milliamp hours. In the new one, latest rumors, 6,000?
Yeah.
6,000. So a huge jump in battery capacity, very likely to be caused by this new technology. And they already have used that tech in a different phone, which is the OnePlus Ace 3 Pro, which is, again, Asian markets kind of release.
You might not have heard about it, but yeah, it's available in Asia.
Yeah, and that phone, it's a flagship mid-range hybrid. It has the OnePlus 12R cameras equipped, but it has the Gen 3 CPU, and so it's in the middle there, but it has the new battery, and it's so about the same size or slightly smaller than slightly smaller than the OnePlus 12, but it has 6,100 milliamp hour battery.
Nice.
So huge jump from the OnePlus 12 battery. So that makes me think that the 13 is going to be maybe the first mainstream worldwide US sold flagship to have this new battery.
That would be awesome. That would be really something to look forward to. And the OnePlus 13 official announcement is set for October 31st in China.
Yep.
It's first coming to China, so expect us to know the details very soon.
Very soon.
Yeah, we'll bring them to you when we have them. All right.
Do you want to talk about the iPad Mini 7?
So let's talk about something a bit boring. We talked about
we'll be quick.
A performance breakthrough. We talked about a new battery technology. Let's talk about something that is not so exciting.
Let's do that.
Something a bit more boring. So Apple just dropped the iPad Mini 7th generation with a just press release. It was a quiet release, no announcement, no event. And good for that, because there was nothing all that notable about this release. It feels a bit lazy. It looks the same as the previous.
Just a spec bump.
It's a spec bump.
The
design is the same as the previous generation, so it's an 8-inch screen, still an LCD display. I was really hoping to see an OLED screen, but of course,
still 60 hertz, which is the worst part.
Still 60 hertz, but yeah, the Air doesn't have it. doesn't have an OLED screen,
Yeah,
so this
so-
one is also LCD. And yeah, basically the major improvement is a new chipset, which is the A17 Pro, which is similar to the chipset used in the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but not quite the same,
Okay.
which I find very weird.
What's different about it?
So the difference,
It's faster because it's in the tablet and it has better thermals, right?
that sounds logical, but no, the opposite. It's slower. So it makes all the sense in the world when you have an iPad mini, which is perfect for gaming.
Yeah. They
You
used to put faster chips
faster
in
chipset.
iPads.
Yeah, but it actually has a slower GPU, so it's worse for gaming.
Why not?
So it has a 5-core GPU, while the iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max had a 6-core GPU. So yeah, it's a so-called
They
bin
probably
chip.
didn't need that core.
Yeah, it's a slightly slower device for
Okay.
gaming. But the important part is that it supports Apple Intelligence. So it doesn't have it at launch because it's still not available, but it will get it with software updates, just like all the other iPhones. It will have all the features, Apple Intelligence features. So this is the big news. Apple is kind of really leaning into that Apple Intelligence stuff. So that's good to have. Another welcome upgrade is they doubled the storage. The base model used to have only 64 gigs, now you get 122 gigs. And the third update is they support the Apple Pencil Pro now.
That's good.
But they don't retroactively support the Apple Pencil 2. It's a mess with these Apple Pencil models, but essentially, if you have that older model, you have to sell it, you have to buy a new Apple Pencil Pro. It's Apple. That's the way they do things. But I really like the iPad mini form factor. Not many people like it, but it's not the most popular iPad by any means. Probably it's the least popular iPad.
Maybe, yeah.
Because of that small size. But I like it. It fits in your rear pocket. It's great for reading a book because it's small, it's lightweight. Also great for gaming because of that form factor. And it's now a bit faster. It's a very boring upgrade. You don't notice it. Like, the current one feels fast enough. And I almost forgot, it still doesn't support Stage Manager.
Okay.
So this is a bit of a...
So you cannot, like, it's not a huge deal, I think, on the tablet itself, because the tablet itself is not that, doesn't have a big screen.
Right,
So, to be honest, you probably would not use Stage Manager a lot on the tablet itself. You could have used it if you connected to an external monitor.
Maybe.
That would have made it,
more
more functional.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe something that
On
few
an
people
18-inch
would
screen, probably not the best idea. So, like, I would have liked to have this feature just to try it out. You still have like all your traditional split-screen multitasking. You can use all of that, of course, but no Stage Manager. And interestingly, it supports Final Cut Pro, which is good. You can edit videos on it. It's also a new thing. And that's the iPad mini. It's
all right, and same price, by the way, $500. So at least they're not bumping the price up here. So it's just a spec refresh. They're modernizing the mini. That's good. I don't know what else. You could put a vastly better screen in there, but
yeah, you could do something.
yeah, there's stuff to do with it. Maybe next year. Maybe in 2 or 3 years.
I would bet the next update will be in a couple of years.
Yeah, if it comes. Alrighty, so that was the new iPad mini. Had to, move it out of the way. So we're done here for today. Thanks for being with us, guys. As always, be sure to hit the like and the subscribe to the PhoneArena Show to ensure that you get the new episodes. We have a new episode each and every week.
This was a fun one, yeah.
This was a fun one. We'll see. Hopefully, the next few ones will be dedicated to exactly these products that are going to get this breakthrough new cutting-edge chipsets and innovative batteries.
Right.
So it's going to be very, very interesting times ahead. So see you next time.
See you around, guys.